Welcome to Real Leaders with Roshini, the podcast with real talk, real questions, real insight, and we hope real inspiration. For real. We're here at Capitol Grill in downtown Minneapolis. My guest today is Josh Neumann. He's CEO and founder of Kind Lips. Josh, first of all, that is a great name for a company.
Thank you.
Tell me about Kind Lips.
It is a 100% natural and organic lip balm. It's actually a behavior modification tool, so it is supposed to act as a reminder to speak kind words every time you apply it.
So what I find kind of a fun fact about you is that you have been obsessed with finding the perfect lip balm since you were a child.
Yeah.
That is an unusual obsession.
Very weird. And it was kind of when it kind of came back full circle that Kind Lips came about, it was kind of like, oh, that's why I've always had this obsession. But even being a little kid, I had dry lips. I'd always like sneak into the bathroom and take my mom's Vaseline, put it on my lips. And I was the only kid at school in elementary, middle school, and even high school at that time that was really using lip balm, and no one else used it. So I've always been addicted to it.
So dedicated to this, you left your life of real estate to start this company a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I worked for real estate in Minneapolis for about 12 years and was part of a team, and we were the number one team at Sotheby's and a top 5 agent in Minneapolis for a few years, and really had a business that I loved for a long time, and just kind of got to a point where I didn't love it as much anymore.
All right, so then lip balm. So you turned to lip balm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a natural progression, Josh.
Not at all. I was literally sitting on the couch one night, and I was like, I'm not fulfilled by real estate. I love my clients and I loved what I did for so long, but I just didn't get that same excitement and fulfillment from it. And I've never had a 9-to-5 job. So sitting on my couch, what am I going to do with my life? I can't go do a 9-to-5. My degree was in education, and I knew I didn't want to go be a teacher in the sense of being in a school system. And I was twirling my lip balm in my hand. And I'm like, I love lip balm. It was that aha moment. I love lip balm. This can't be rocket science to create a lip balm that actually works well, because I'd never found a brand in all those years that I was loyal to.
So you're kind of still in startup mode, but coming out of that a little bit. It is not easy starting a business. So what is your advice for people who are, twirling something and they decide, oh, I want to start something?
Yeah, baby steps. That is, I've had this discussion before, and it really is just, I use this example with a good friend of mine. I call him Dr. Andy, and he was going to be redoing a room in his house, and we were having coffee, and he's like, I've looked at this wall, I've been in this room, I've sat there, I just don't know what to do. And we were having that talk, and I'm like, just throw a hammer through the wall. And he started laughing. He's like, what? I'm like, just throw a hammer through the wall. And he went home and he threw a hammer in the wall. And all of a sudden, it just started that progression of tearing out the sheetrock and getting down to the studs and moving to other walls. And he texted me a week later, and he had finished the whole project. And he's like, that's all I needed was just that one step. And I think a lot of times, myself included, people get so overwhelmed with like what it has to look like at the end, they forget to just take that first step.
That's really great advice, that you don't have to worry about the end result as much as just starting on the path.
Yeah, totally. Like when I first started Kind Lips, I wanted everything to be perfect, from the label to the formula. And I remember someone gave me the amazing advice of, they go, how many iPhones are there? And I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 at the time. And they're like, if Apple can continue to improve the iPhone, you don't have to have Kind Lips be perfect right away.
Exactly.
And that was the advice I needed to get going.
But you have started with something that's certified organic, gluten-free, made in the USA. Why were those 3 aspects important to you?
Well, I knew that if the message behind Kind Lips was to be a reminder to speak kind words, the product also had to be kind for my lips or the user's lips. And I wanted, unfortunately and fortunately, I have really high-end taste, and I wanted something that was going to be a product that I would use myself and that I would feel comfortable giving it to my little brothers and sisters and friends' kids and whoever. And so I knew it had to be the best product that I could make.
Speaking of family, I know your mom is really important to you. How has that relationship shaped your life, maybe even shaped Kind Lips?
Oh, man, she has so much to do with every part of Kind Lips, to the point of, growing up, we were never overly close. And people would be like, oh, my best friend is my mom or my dad, and I never understood that. And after college, we really started to spend more time and talk and get to know each other and understand each other's hearts. And she is now my best friend, and I get to talk to her. I talk to her every day. And when I was, that same night where I was sitting on my couch twirling my lip balm, I came up with the idea of starting that, and I was actually going to call it Blessed Lips. And it was going to be prayed over, blessed, and marketed towards more like the spiritual side, yogi, Christian group, like kosher for lip balm, essentially. And I thought that would be a little fun niche group. And my mom happened to call me that night, told her what I was going to do, and she's like, oh, you'll be great at whatever you do. I got dinner on the table. I got to go. And I was a little bit, to be completely honest, offended that she didn't like give me more praise. And it was all my ego that was like, oh, it was a really good idea. And so I say that because the next morning it was 6 a.m. right on the nose, and my phone's ringing, which is odd, and that was my mom calling. I answered it. She said she'd been up for 3 hours waiting to call me. She had the most vivid dream she's ever had in her entire life. And she said that I have a sister that's 2 years older, and she said me and my sister Aubrey got in like this massive fight, and I ended up saying all these mean things to her. And so my punishment was I had to write sentences. I had to write the law of kindness is on my lips 50 times. And so in the dream, she's like standing behind my back, and every time I wrote kind and lips, flew off the page and hit her in the face. And she goes, I think if you do this lip balm thing, you're supposed to call it kind lips. And I wasn't even thinking about lip balm at 6 a.m. in the morning. And she's telling me this story, and I got the chills. And I was like, you're so right. It's a reminder for everyone to speak kind words. Obviously, lips come out of your words pass through your lips. And it's just so simple that it's brilliant type of deal. And so kind lips would have never come around if it wasn't for my mom, and just a special relationship that we have.
Exactly. And also a great lesson that your first opinion of her reaction wasn't necessarily the right one or the best one, because as moms do, she was always thinking about you. She went to bed thinking about this new venture of yours.
Yeah, so
and dreamt
true.
about it. That is an amazing naming story.
Thank you.
That's really amazing. I love that. I hope you use that more, because it's great. I mean, Mom had this dream. And another thing that is so important about what you're doing is 20% of proceeds from Kind Lips donating to fight bullying. Why did you decide to go in that direction?
So when I was a little kid, my mom, again, she made me, I'd get $1 a week for allowance, and we go to church, and I always had to bring 10 cents and put it in the offering bucket. And so I learned at a young age to give back and contribute. And so being in real estate, whenever I got paid, 10% would go off the top right away to a charity or church. And I got really consistent about doing that. And as my business continued to grow and I continued to grow, I wanted to give more money. And I never could get myself in the habit of consistently giving more than that 10%, which I was raised to, that was what I was supposed to do. And so I knew that when I was leaving real estate and starting Kind Lips, I had to do 20%. And if I didn't figure out a way to make it happen, it would never happen later on. So I came up with the idea of 20%. And then, I never grew up, when I grew up, bullying wasn't really a word that was thrown around. There was initiation, there was different stuff. So I never thought of myself as being bullied or as bullying anybody else. But I knew that was something that was becoming more and more prevalent with social media, with just a key word that was out there, and there's not very many companies that are earning income to make a difference. And so I want to make sure that I could be a profit center to support the nonprofits that were actually in the trenches doing the work preventing the bullying.
Let's put the crystal ball out there, Josh. Where do you want Kind Lips to go? What's the vision?
Starting out, I was really nervous and probably not confident enough to say this, but right now I feel really clear that we're going to be the largest lip balm company in the world. There's been some amazing stories that have come up. Right now we're actually just, before this, I was emailing, we're sending about 10,000 tubes to Japan. So we're going into Japan, we're in Australia, we're in China. We just finished up our Canadian labels, got all the French done. And not that we're a big deal anywhere, but we're starting to spread around the world, and people are receiving the mission and the idea and just the heart behind the product. And I take not very much credit for it at all, other than that I was just obedient and have moved through to get this up and going. And people get the product on their lips, and they it becomes that reminder like, oh, I should be nice to this person, or I should be nice to my husband or wife or kids. And so it's making a difference, and it makes a difference for me every day. And that's when I knew that I hoped that it would actually do what it was intended to do.
Well, you've heard it here first, folks, on Real Leaders with Roshini. Kind Lips, Josh wants it to be the biggest lip balm company in the world. Where can people find it online?
Kindlips.com, Amazon. You can, we're in about all the boutiques around Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Japan and Australia. Excellent. So lots of places. That's exciting. What does Josh Neumann do for fun?
I spend time with friends and really try and decompress. And it seems that's a really interesting question, because fun for me changes seasonally. Lately, I've really been getting into politics. And so I love learning about what people are saying about hot topic issues, and seeing both sides of it, and really try to empathize and understand like where that comes from. And I don't know if that's because I'm supposed to like work towards that someday in 20 years. Maybe that'll develop into a new passion where I'm supposed to go down that route. But right now, for the last 3 months, I've been really into politics.
Not a bad thing. I love it when people are more civically minded and care about who's leading us as a city, a state, or a nation. We are at Capitol Grill in downtown Minneapolis. Lots of spirits and wines, beers. If Josh were one of those things, what might you be?
Pinot Noir.
And why?
I feel like it ages well. It can assimilate into a lot of different people. People really, I feel like, I don't know if you're aware of like Enneagrams or Myers-Briggs, but it's easy for me to kind of sync up to most people and really understand and empathize and just feel them and get on the same page. So I think a lot of people can drink Pinot Noir, whether you prefer reds or whites. It's really easy to take in.
Do you think Kind Lips would ever have a Pinot Noir flavor?
That is a good question. No.
Okay. Just doesn't go with the brand.
Yeah.
All right. See, it's good. You know your product. You know what you're putting out there. Josh Neumann, it has been a pleasure to get to know you and what you're trying to do with Kind Lips. Wishing you the best.
Thank you so much.
Until next time, keep it real.